How y'all doing, blood? I'm David, and I'm here with my brother-in-law and best friend growing up, Chris. Um, and today we're gonna be sharing his testimony. So first off, Chris, I guess just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. I'm Chris, 24. I'm Seventh Day Adventist. I was brought up Pentecostal, and yeah, that's about it.
I guess just tell us a little bit about your childhood. What was were your family real religious, or were you just like kind of go a little bit? You know kind of what I'm asking.
Well, my parents divorced when I was about 6 or 7, and my mom's Pentecostal, and I'm pretty sure my dad's atheist. I've never heard him talk about religion or God or anything like that, and I growing up, I went between the two houses. So I had my mom who was religious, and she would do her best to bring me to church and stuff, like to get me to go and learn about God. And then I had a dad who, you know, when I was living with him, there was no influence to go to church or to seek God and learn the truth. So that was kind of tough.
Yeah, I bet. Like, what kind of effect did that have on you? You know, growing up into your when you were teenagers. I mean, I hung out with you, so I kind of know what it was like when we were teenagers and stuff like that. But tell us a little bit about how was your mind on anything spiritual? You know, really growing up or anything like that.
Not at all. Really, not at all. My mom, she would do her best to kind of get me to go to church, but I found out at an early age that if I ignored her long enough about it, that she would just kind of give up and go by herself. So growing up, I had really no desire to learn about God or anything like that. Like, I knew very basic fundamentals of it. Jesus died on the cross for us, and that God is supposed to be your number one priority. Other than that, I had never read a Bible, and I couldn't tell you anything that I learned in a Pentecostal church. Like, I wouldn't pay attention. I was always cutting up when we were there, and yeah, there I had no desire at all until I was probably like, sitting in the station wagon with you. That's where I got my start with Christianity and all that.
Well, tell them what you mean about sitting in the station wagon with me, because I touched a little bit of it in my testimony, but yeah.
We were pretty bad back then, and I was really into drinking and smoking and just doing a lot of drugs. And David would always come and stay at my house and stuff. He'd sneak in through my window, and we'd go and we'd sit out in my station wagon, which was broken down, sitting in my driveway, and we'd just sit out there and smoke cigarettes. And the whole time, like, David would start telling me Bible stories, stuff of like Samson and like the story of King David and Saul, and for hours at a time. And it's things that I had never heard of. I had no idea the Bible talked about stuff like this. I always thought the Bible was like just a bunch of rules, and it kind of opened me up to really what the Bible was about and kind of showing me the character of God.
Yeah, what you told me the other day a real interesting story on how God started revealing Himself to you. That did it like twice. So what's all that about?
Well, after you went into the army, one night I was really bad about drinking and smoking and stuff. And one night it got bad, and I ended up drinking a lot and got real angry and got into some trouble where I ended up getting arrested, and I was getting charged with a felony. And I remember I was sitting in my jail cell, and my cellmate said, come to church. There's a church inside the jail that comes, like, I think it was like every Thursday they would come. And he's like, come to church with me. And I was like, no, I'm not about going to church and stuff like that. And he's like, well, the least it does is it gets you out of your cell. So I ended up going to church with him, and the pastor was saying, if you talk to God and if you tell him with your full heart or ask him something with your full heart and you really seek the truth and, you just kind of hand stuff over to God, that he'll listen and he'll do whatever he wants for you. So that night I went back to my cell and I prayed to God. I was like, God, I know what I did was wrong and I have to be punished for it. You can do that. But, let me get through this, let me make it through everything okay. And, that was the first time I'd really prayed to God in my whole life. And the very next day, all charges were dropped against me and I got out of jail, like with nothing to do. Like just everything was dropped and it was amazing. And that really, like for God to show himself to me like that and to show that he really cared, even about somebody who had never read the Bible or really gone to church or anything. But I told him if, he did this, I would hand my life over to him and quit doing drugs and all that stuff. So then he gets me out of jail, all charges dropped, and instantly I go back to smoking and drinking and stuff like this. And I end up living in a house with, it's a 2-bedroom house, 5 people, 7 dogs, just really cramped. And things kind of didn't work out. So I ended up leaving and I moved in with Diana. And I always remembered what I had said to God. And I told God one night, it was probably December of, 2009. And I was praying and I said, if that really was you that got me out of jail, do something crazy. Let me know it was you. I was like, make it snow here in Florida. And the next day I found myself walking to work in the snow. There was icicles hanging from poles and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. And then I still kind of doubted after that. So about 3 weeks go by and I'm driving Sarah's car, who's my girlfriend, and I end up crashing her car. And her dad's like, don't worry about paying me back. I want you to read the book of John and I want you to go to church for 1 month straight. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. So I read the book of John and I go to church for a month, and that kind of is what started to change everything. Like for actually reading the word for the first time and going to church and having the actual truth and paying attention when I was actually in church. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is a pretty awesome story. I mean, I think, when God shows himself in those ways, it's actually so amazing. I think stuff like that's more touching than, an angel just showing up at your door. But actually, going outside and it's snowing or having all your charges dropped. It's truly amazing. So after that, okay, so, you start going to church. So when do you start really feeling the changing power of Christ in your life after that?
Well, really after that, I was going to church and I would read my Bible some, but I was still doing wrong. I was still smoking and I was still drinking. And it wasn't until probably, I'd say less than a year and a half ago, that I truly started seeking God and I truly turned my life over. I remember it was like November of 2011 that I quit hanging out with all my friends. That I remember at one point I was sitting in my house and I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and I was just like, man, I'm really lonely. I have nobody to turn to right now. And then it hit me. Like, I don't know why it hit me. Well, it was God, the reason why, but I just decided to read my Bible. I was feeling really lonely, and I opened up to Samuel, and from there, like, I started reading my Bible every day and spending time with God, and God actually became one of my good friends, you know what I mean? Like, through spending time with him. And then for Christmas that year, somebody gave me a CD case of the whole Bible on audio, and I would listen to it every time I was in the car, and God just started changing me and working on me through that.
Yeah, and that's truly amazing, man, for real. So how did he get you to where you are now? Because I know, it's always a process, a day-to-day process. And where does God have you at now? Because I mean, I know just from talking to you that you definitely have a yearning for truth and to share the word. So where are you at in your walk now with God?
My walk still every day. It's always going to be a struggle, and like I pray every day. Change me, make me despise evil and love the truth. And it's kind of turned around, like from where I was before, because now I still see some of our old friends, but it's kind of like my role switched with yours in the days of the station wagon, where I'm not doing drugs or anything, but I'll be sitting in the car and they'll be smoking a cigarette, and then all of a sudden they'll just start asking me questions about the Bible or about how God is or why I believe the way that I believe. And it's crazy to see how the tables have kind of turned with God working out, because now I'm able to reach people who before would say, God isn't real, God isn't, he doesn't help me on my day-to-day life. And to be able to, and the thing is when they ask me questions about the Bible, stuff pops up and I remember stuff that I don't even remember that I know. Like he kind of talks through me to get to certain people, and he gives me the things that I need to say. And just to be able to do that and to be able to spread the word to God to people that I never thought I'd be able to reach, or to, I don't know how to explain it, man.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I know what you mean. It's kind of hard to explain. And what I think is amazing is that you guys out there watching need to understand is me and Chris were both people on a path to nowhere. I mean, if you've watched my testimony, yeah, if you watched my testimony, I was low, and Chris, always in trouble, and we both had anger problems, horrible anger problems. Both of our parents' house had holes in the walls from us getting angry. But I think to our personal friends, that like he's talking about hanging out with them now and them actually asking questions about, and to any of y'all, the thing is that I think that God's let us be where we were and taken us from where we were, so that our testimony can reach more people. Because when a lot of people look at us and they're like, man, Chris and David, I never thought in the world that, like, for instance, our friend Derek, he was like, I never thought I'd ever hear you talking about God. And now all of a sudden he's wanting to talk about God. And any of y'all out there too, if you like I said before in the last video, if you want to share your testimony, hit me up so we can get you on here too, because your testimony is what makes it relatable. It shows the world that Christians, that we're not just weird people that are off here worshiping, but we're actually real people that have real problems and gone through a lot of really hard stuff. But Chris, so where you are now, looking back on your whole life, and I know we talked a lot about some of the things you went through, but looking back, can you see that God's hand was working in your life ever since you were little? Can you kind of see that he was kind of working with you to bring you to where you are now?
Absolutely, man, because I think I needed to go through that so that I could truly appreciate the things that God does for me now. Like, growing up, I had a really hard dad. My dad was a Marine, biker, and, he was really hard on me. But, it needed to be done so that when I get to the point that I am now, I can truly appreciate what my Father in heaven, is doing for me. Like, it says that he'll let you pass through trials and stuff, and I'm so hard-headed that I needed to pass through them. Because if everything was just handed to me easily, there would be no reason to come to God. There wouldn't have been a desire to.
Exactly, and that's one thing I was talking about in one of my other videos, is about how God puts us through these things and lets us hit rock bottom to call us to Him and draws us. Not to be misunderstood, that He puts us through those things. He doesn't put us through them, but He allows things to happen to us, so that we realize we need a Savior, we need a God. So is there anything else, Chris? Anything from your life that you think would touch people out there that you'd like to share?
Kind of threw me on the spot with that one, David. I would just say, a lot of people, they look at how everything is today, and they claim that there's the people that claim that there's not a God are the people that haven't give God a chance. Because I used to be one of those people. You know what I mean? Like I said, we were always doing wrong. We would steal from people. Like, we were constantly getting in trouble. But that's because we're not giving God the chance to work on us and through us. Like, the people, if there's anybody who claims that there isn't a God, like, I challenge you, just like I was challenged, go through and read the Gospels. Get to know Jesus' character a little bit. And see if going to church and reading the Bible for yourself doesn't change your life.
Amen. Well, hey, thanks for sharing your testimony, Chris. Definitely touched me hearing it. And I hope this video, reaches tons of y'all out there because like I said before, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, and those are the two most taken for granted, most played down things in Christianity. And it's sad because it's our strongest weapon in these end times. So yeah, thanks, Chris, for sharing your testimony, and definitely y'all be hearing a lot more from him because I'm featuring him on some of our roundtables and stuff like that. Because he definitely has a true yearning, and just know that if God can use me and if God can use Chris, He can use any of y'all because we've been pretty much the low of the low and done about a lot of dirty things that y'all probably have. I mean, I'm sure people have gone through worse things out there. Like y'all have done a lot worse things than us, but just take it as a reminder that God will forgive you no matter what you've gone through.
He'll take anything that He can, man.
Exactly.
He wants us to come.
Exactly. He wants us to come to Him just as we are, and He loves us no matter what. And He can use you. All He needs is you to be willing. Like Chris said, try it. Read the Gospels. And like he said, it's a day-to-day thing, day-to-day struggle. So daily, say, Father, Your will be done. Not my will, Your will. Take up your cross and follow Him, and see if He doesn't pour out blessings on you, but use you in the same way. Because I never thought in a million years God could use me to reach people. I'm sure you were the same way, Chris, because I thought we were too far gone.
So did I. I never thought I'd be here today.
Well,
keep growing.
But yeah, well, God bless y'all, and definitely share these videos. And if you want to get your testimony out there, let me know, and we'll definitely I'll get y'all on here too. But yeah, God bless.